Miss Hiller? The water's boiling. Hello! Ah!
Funny man with a quiet sour, Robin Williams was famous all over the world for his comedy, energy, and ability to make people laugh, from cartoons to stand-up shows, from heartfelt movies to loud laughter. He was seen as the man who could light up any room. But Sally Field, who worked closely with him on the set of Mrs. Doubtfire, knew something more. She saw a side of Robin that very few people ever did. Yes, he was funny. Yes, he was quick and full of surprises. But underneath all that energy was someone deeply kind, gentle, and full of quiet understanding. When Sally later spoke about her time with Robin, she didn't just talk about the jokes. She talked about the man behind the jokes, the one who could feel someone's pain without them saying a word. And it all began in 1993, when they both came together to film one of the most loved family movies of all time. Their roles in Mrs. Doubtfire were powerful. Robin played Daniel Hillard, a father so desperate to be close to his children after a divorce that he disguised himself as a kind Scottish nanny. Sally Field played Miranda, his ex-wife, trying to hold everything together for the sake of her family, while their characters were going through struggles on screen. Something truly special was forming behind the scenes. It wasn't just acting, it was connection. From the first day on set, Sally noticed Robin's incredible range, not just as an actor, but as a person. He could be laughing one moment and deeply focused the next. He wasn't only performing for the camera, he was completely involved in making the film meaningful. And for Sally, that meant stepping into scenes with someone who gave his all every single time. The power of improvisation thing that stood out right away was how Robin worked during scenes. He would start by doing a few takes just like the script said. These were the normal, planned lines that everyone had practiced. But after that, something amazing would happen. Robin would start to play. He'd throw in funny voices, make up new lines on the spot, and change the entire feel of a scene. His energy was impossible to predict, but it was never random. Every time he did something new, it brought a fresh feeling to the moment. The camera crew would often laugh quietly behind the scenes. Even the director, Chris Columbus, was amazed. He eventually decided to use more than one camera at a time to capture every unexpected thing Robin did. At first, that might sound stressful for another actor. Imagine trying to say your lines while your co-star changes everything every few seconds. But Sally Field wasn't bothered at all. In fact, she welcomed it. Instead of trying to control the moment, she let herself react naturally to whatever Robin did. This made her own performance stronger, more emotional, and very real. The scenes between them didn't feel rehearsed, they felt like real people having real feelings. It became a kind of dance between the two of them. Robin brought wildness, and Sally brought calm. Robin reached out with chaos, and Sally responded with grace. Their very different styles actually worked together perfectly. What could have been stressful turned into something magical. The moment everything changed, but even with all the laughter and fun happening on set, there came a moment that showed the truest part of Robin's character. It wasn't during a scene. It wasn't something seen by cameras or written in the script. It happened off stage, quietly. But it left a permanent mark on Sally Field. During filming, Sally received heartbreaking news. Her father had died. It was sudden, and she was still on set, preparing to film a very emotional courtroom scene. Sally, being the professional she always had been, didn't tell anyone at first. She tried to keep going. She stayed in her trailer, took deep breaths, and prepared herself to act through the pain. But Robin noticed. He wasn't just being funny or loud that day. He was watching Sally. Something felt different, and he could sense it. Without any big action or dramatic speech, he quietly walked over to her trailer, looked her in the eye, and asked gently, "Are you okay?" Sally broke down. She told him what had happened. Robin didn't wait or ask for more details. He immediately said, "You need to go home right now." He didn't care that he was the lead actor. He didn't care that they had scenes to shoot or deadlines to meet. Robin walked straight to the director and asked that they change the shooting schedule to work around Sally. "She needs time. Let's shoot something else today," he said, and just like that, the entire set adjusted. Sally was given space to grieve because someone cared enough to see her pain and take action. Not just a co-star or protector. This one moment told Sally everything she needed to know about the man behind the laughter. Robin didn't do this for attention. He didn't make a show of it. He didn't even talk about it later. He simply did what was right. He cared more about a friend than a film schedule. He saw past the lights, the makeup, and the scripts to notice someone's hurt. Sally said she had worked with many stars in her life, but this quiet act of kindness was something different. It wasn't part of the job. It wasn't written in any contract. It came from Robin's heart. In a world where so many people are too busy to notice what others are feeling, Robin stood out because he truly did notice. That day, Sally was not just an actress playing a role. She was a daughter who had lost her father, and Robin treated her with the care and love that any family member would. She didn't need to pretend to be okay. She was allowed to be human. Robin gave her that space without ever needing to be thanked. And that's the kind of kindness that stays in a person's heart forever. Sally would later say that this moment changed how she remembered everything about Mrs. Doubtfire. It wasn't just a fun movie. It was the place where someone stepped forward when it mattered most. The movie is full of laughter, but behind that laughter was a man with the soul of a friend and the heart of a protector. Kindness that touched every owner. Robin's compassion wasn't just for Sally. It was something he carried with him wherever he went. On the set, he was always kind to the crew, the lighting team, the costume staff, the assistants, the people who were often unnoticed. He remembered their names. He asked about their days. He cracked jokes during lunch breaks, not to show off, but to lift spirits. People felt better when Robin was around, not just because he was funny, but because he truly cared. That's rare, not just in Hollywood, but anywhere. Everyone who worked with him felt like they mattered. Outside of movie sets, Robin used his fame to help others. He co-founded Comic Relief USA, a charity that raised millions of dollars for the homeless. He gave money and time to support children's hospitals, schools, and veterans. He wasn't someone who talked about change. He was someone who quietly did the work, and he did it without needing applause. Robin believed in helping people, whether they were fans or strangers. That kind of heart can't be taught. It comes from someone who knows how pain feels and chooses to heal it in others. The bond that never faded even after the movie ended and the years went by. Sally never forgot what Robin did for her. In interviews years later, she spoke softly about that moment. She said, "I never shared this story before." It wasn't because she had forgotten. It was because it was too personal, too sacred. She wasn't trying to gain attention or tell a sad story. She simply wanted people to understand the real Robin Williams, the man behind the voices, the jokes, the big performances, the man who, on the worst day of her life, gave her peace. Their connection wasn't flashy. They didn't need to tell the world they were close. It was built through trust, kindness, and quiet support. When they acted together, their performances were beautiful because they were rooted in something honest. And when the camera stopped, that truth remained. Sally didn't just act beside a comedy legend. She worked with a man whose heart was bigger than any screen could show, and that made all the difference. A legacy of heart today. People remember Robin Williams for his energy, his humor, and the many roles he brought to life. But those who knew him, like Sally Field, remember something even greater. They remember the warmth he gave when no one was watching. They remember how he made people feel seen, heard, and safe. That's the kind of legacy that never fades. It doesn't matter how many awards he won or how many movies he made. What matters is the way he treated others with grace, with respect, and with deep love. Sally's story reminds us that sometimes the most unforgettable moments don't happen on camera. They happen in real life, in quiet rooms, when someone chooses kindness over convenience. Robin Williams was that kind of person. And through stories like Sally's, we all get to see that behind the laughter, there was a man who cared more deeply than most ever knew. That is the Robin Williams she knew, and the one the world should never forget. Sally Field's deep bond with Robin Williams, a friendship beyond the screen. When people think of Robin Williams, they often remember the high energy, the wild jokes, and the fast-talking characters. But those who truly knew him like actress, Sally Field remembers something much deeper. Sally once shared a heartfelt thought. "He should be growing old like me." That one sentence holds so much meaning. It's not just sadness. It's a reflection of love, grief, and the quiet ache that never goes away when someone leaves this world too soon. Sally and Robin's bond wasn't just about acting. It was about the way he made her feel understood, safe, and supported. Their connection went far beyond their work in Mrs. Doubtfire. It was built on private moments, the kind that don't make headlines. One of those moments was when Sally's father passed away. Robin didn't make a public scene. He simply helped her off set, quietly and gently. No cameras, no attention, just true friendship. That was the kind of man he was. Not just funny, but deeply kind. Sally often speaks about how Robin's heart was even bigger than his talent, and how much the world missed seeing that side of him. The man behind the laughter had a soul full of empathy, and Sally saw that more clearly than most. The man behind the mask, Robin's true natural. Robin Williams had a gift unlike anyone else. He could make a room erupt in laughter within seconds. Yet what made him truly special was something quieter. It was his ability to listen, to care, and to sense when someone else was hurting. Many of his close friends and co-stars, including Al Pacino and Ben Stiller, noticed this side of him. They spoke about his ability to read people's emotions before a word was even spoken. Sally Field often explained how Robin had an emotional radar. He would walk onto a set and know who was sad, who was nervous, and who needed a gentle word. Most people only saw the performer, the characters, the voices, the comedy, but very few saw the gentle spirit underneath. Sally felt lucky to have known that man. She described him as someone who was not only brilliant on screen, but also deeply human. He had a way of turning pain into humor, but not in a way that dismissed the pain. Instead, he made people feel less alone in their sadness. That was his real magic. Sally once said, people came to him to laugh, but they left feeling loved. And that is what made Robin Williams not just a legend in Hollywood, but a truly rare soul in real life. A quiet struggle no one could see despite all the joy he gave others. Robin Williams was facing a deep and hidden pain. On the outside, he was still making people laugh. He still smiled, still showed up to work, and still carried that playful spark in his eyes. But inside, something was wrong, something even he didn't fully understand. In early 2014, Robin began to change. His hit TV show The Crazy Ones had just been canceled, and the career he had once ruled seemed to be slipping away. For someone who lived to entertain, that loss was more than just professional, it was deeply personal. Around the same time, Robin was going through emotional struggles in his private life. He had recently remarried after a second divorce, and although he hoped to find peace, the adjustment was not easy. He felt caught between chapters trying to start fresh, but weighed down by the past. Then came a diagnosis that added to the confusion: Parkinson's disease. For a man known for his quick mind and physical energy, the idea of slowly losing control of his body was terrifying. But even that diagnosis turned out to be wrong. The truth, as the world would later learn, was even more heartbreaking. The truth revealed Lewy body dementia to Robin Williams' death. Doctors discovered something shocking. He hadn't been suffering from Parkinson's disease as first thought. Instead, he had been battling a rare and devastating brain disorder called Lewy body dementia. This illness is aggressive and confusing, even for medical professionals. It affects memory, movement, behavior, and emotions. It causes hallucinations, paranoia, depression, and sudden changes in thinking. The worst part, the symptoms come and go, making it nearly impossible for the person or those around them to understand what's really happening. For Robin, this was a silent and terrifying storm. He didn't know why he was changing. He didn't know why he couldn't remember things or why his thoughts didn't feel like his own anymore. His wife, Susan Schneider, later described it as a terrorist inside my husband's brain. One moment he seemed like himself, and the next, he was distant, fearful, and confused. It was cruel and invisible. The very brain that gave him the power to make millions laugh was now turning against him. This was not just a health struggle. It was the slow erasing of the man he had always been, and tragically, no one knew until it was too late. Final days. A star slowly fading as the illness worsened. Robin's spirit began to dim. Friends noticed the change. He wasn't as sharp. He forgot things. His hands trembled. He seemed worried, afraid of losing the very things that had made him who he was. He didn't talk about it much, even to those closest to him. Instead, he kept smiling, kept performing, and kept showing up for others. But behind that familiar smile, he was breaking. He tried to stay hopeful. He kept working, hoping that something might help. But the illness was relentless. Robin became more isolated, unsure of how to ask for help or even what kind of help he needed. The man who once lit up every room was slowly fading away. On August 11, 2014, the world received the news no one expected. Robin Williams had died by suicide in his California home. The shock was immediate and global. Millions of fans, friends, and fellow actors mourned together. It was only then that many realized just how much he had been suffering and how well he had hidden that suffering behind laughter, wit, and kindness. Tributes. For friends and fans around the world, the outpouring of love after Robin's passing was unlike anything Hollywood had seen in years. People from every part of the world came forward to share what he meant to them. Billy Crystal, one of his closest friends, delivered an emotional tribute at the Emmy Awards. His voice broke as he said, "He made us laugh hard every time you saw him." Whoopi Goldberg said it felt like losing a part of yourself. Even former President Barack Obama issued a heartfelt statement, saying, "He arrived in our lives as an alien, but he ended up touching every element of the human spirit." The tributes didn't stop there. Fans online shared stories, fan art, and quotes. Some said they had to pull over their car when they heard the news, overcome with grief. For many, Robin had been more than a movie star. He had been a comfort during lonely times. His characters felt like friends. His voice, especially as the genie in Aladdin, brought warmth to entire childhoods. Through laughter, he gave people hope. Through honesty, he gave them strength. And through pain, he reminded the world of the beauty of being human, the legacy that lives 1 years after his passing. Robin Williams' legacy remains alive and powerful. His films are still watched, his jokes still quoted, and his characters still loved. But more than that, the memory of his kindness continues to inspire. Sally Field often says that what she remembers most isn't the comedy or the fame. She remembers the man who helped her in silence, the friend who felt deeply and gave generously. The world saw a comedian, but she saw a healer. Robin's story also helped start important conversations about mental health and misdiagnosis. His tragic end showed that even those who seem the happiest may be quietly suffering, and his life reminded people to check in on their loved ones, to listen more deeply, and to never assume that a smile means everything is okay. Today, fans celebrate his work with online tributes, art, and movie marathons. Children still discover his voice in Aladdin. Adults still cry at Good Will Hunting. And everyone young and old remembers a man who made the world brighter simply by being himself.